I still remember the morning I found the red scarf in my freezer. Yes, my freezer, not the closet, not the laundry basket. Right there between a bag of peas and half a loaf of bread, folded neatly as if it belonged there. I stood in my kitchen with the freezer door open, cold air spilling onto my slippers, and I said out loud, "Well, Clara, this is how it begins. My name is Clara, by the way. I am 74 years old, and I have misplaced many things in my life. Keys, glasses, grocery lists, my patience, and once, for a very long year, my sense of humor. But a scarf in the freezer felt different. My daughter had been telling me to slow down. My son had been telling me to sell the house. My doctor had been telling me to write things down. And my neighbor Ruth, who has known me since 1972, had been telling me to stop pretending I was fine when I was not. That morning, with the red scarf frozen stiff in my hand, all their voices came back at once. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was becoming someone who needed to be watched. I sat down at the kitchen table and looked around the room. The yellow curtains I had sewn myself. The little nick in the table where my husband dropped a hammer in 1986. The wall calendar with birthdays written in 3 different colors. The coffee cup that said Retrona, because my granddaughter had ordered it for me and told me, "Grandma, it makes you official." Officially what? I still do not know. Then my phone rang. It was my grandson, Daniel. "Grandma," he said, "can I come over after school? I have to interview an older person for a class project." An older person. There is nothing like a 12-year-old to keep you humble. I almost said no. I almost told him I was busy, though I had nothing to do except worry about a frozen scarf. But something in his voice sounded small, so I said, "Come at 4. Bring cookies if you want a good interview." He arrived with chocolate chip cookies from the store and a notebook with 3 questions written on the first page. "Question 1, he said, very serious. "What was the happiest day of your life?" I looked at him and laughed. "Child, you cannot start with a question that big. You have to warm a person up first." He crossed it out and wrote, "Warm person up." That made me laugh harder. So we began with easier things. My first job at the bakery. The first car your grandpa and I bought, which had a door that only opened from the outside. The summer the whole street lost power, and everyone brought food to our backyard before it spoiled. Daniel wrote quickly, his tongue sticking out a little the way his mother's used to when she was concentrating. Then he asked, "Were you ever scared?" I was about to give a grandmother answer. Something tidy, something with a bow on it. But the red scarf was still on the counter, thawing beside the sink. So I told him the truth. "Yes," I said. "I was scared this morning." He looked up. I told him about the scarf in the freezer. I expected him to giggle. He did not. Instead, he said, "Maybe you put it there for a reason." "What reason would that be?" He shrugged. "Maybe you were carrying groceries in the scarf at the same time." I opened my mouth, then closed it, because suddenly I remembered. The night before, Ruth had knocked on my door with soup. I had been cold, so I put on the red scarf. Then the grocery delivery came. I carried the frozen things to the kitchen, phone under my chin. Ruth talking, soup on the table, scarf in my hand, and somehow between peas and bread, the scarf found a winter home. It was not the beginning of the end. It was just a busy woman doing 3 things at once. I felt foolish. Then I felt relieved. Then very quietly, I felt angry. Not at Daniel, not at my children, at myself, because I had been so quick to believe the worst about me. I had taken one mistake and turned it into a verdict. Daniel tapped his pencil. Grandma, can I write that down? Write what? Sometimes a mistake is just a mistake. I nodded. Write that in big letters. After he left, I kept thinking about it. Sometimes a mistake is just a mistake. How many times had I forgotten to give myself that mercy? When I burned the toast, I called myself useless. When I could not remember an actor's name, I called myself old. When I needed help opening a jar, I called myself weak. But when Daniel forgot his homework, I called him human. When my daughter was late, I called her busy. When my neighbor repeated the same story twice, I called it charming because I liked the story. Why was everyone else allowed to be human, but I had to be perfect to feel safe? That evening, Ruth came over to return my soup bowl. I told her about the scarf. She laughed so hard she had to sit down. Clara, she said, last month I found my television remote in the bathroom cabinet. I decided it was looking for toothpaste. We laughed until our eyes watered. Then she said something I have not forgotten. Getting older is not only losing things. Sometimes it is finding out what you can stop carrying. The next day I made a list. Not a grocery list. Not a list of pills or appointments. A list of things I was tired of carrying. Number 1, the fear that one mistake means I am falling apart. Number 2, the habit of saying I'm fine when I am lonely. Number 3, waiting for my children to notice what I need before I say it. Number 4, pretending I do not want company. Number 5, apologizing for needing more time. I put the list on my refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a strawberry. 3 days later, my daughter came by. She saw the list while pouring coffee. Mom, she said softly, are you lonely? The old me would have smiled and said, oh, don't worry about me. But I was trying to stop carrying that. So I said, sometimes, not every day, but yes, sometimes. She turned around with tears already in her eyes. I almost comforted her. Mothers are trained to comfort even when they are the ones bleeding. But I let the truth sit between us for a moment. Then I said, I do not need you to feel guilty. I need us to make a plan. So we did. Every Tuesday evening she calls while she cooks dinner. Not a rushed call from the car, a real one. Every other Sunday, Daniel comes over for what he now calls history cookies. Ruth and I started walking to the corner mailbox after lunch, whether we have mail or not. And once a month I invite 2 people over for soup. Sometimes they come. Sometimes they cannot. But I ask. That was the part I had forgotten. I could ask. I did not have to wait in silence and then feel wounded when nobody guessed correctly. Now, I would love to tell you that my life became perfect after the red scarf incident. It did not. Last week, I spent 10 minutes looking for my glasses while wearing them. Yesterday, I put salt in my tea instead of sugar and made a face so dramatic that Ruth still cannot talk about it without laughing. But I do not turn every small mistake into a tragedy anymore. I pause. I breathe. I ask, is this a problem or is this just a moment? Most things are moments, and moments pass. Here is what I want to tell you, dear friend, especially if you're watching this with a quiet house around you. Do not let one forgotten name, one misplaced scarf, one slow morning, or one lonely afternoon convince you that your story is shrinking. You're still here. You still have wisdom no search engine can give. You still have memories that can warm a room. You still have the right to ask for company, help, patience, laughter, and a second cup of coffee. And if today you find the bread in the laundry basket or the remote in the refrigerator, take a breath before you judge yourself. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you were distracted. Maybe you were doing 3 things at once because even now you're still trying to hold the world together with 2 hands. Be gentle with those hands. They have carried children, groceries, grief, holidays, bills, gardens, laundry, soup bowls, birthday cakes, and other people's worries. They deserve kindness. That red scarf hangs by my front door now. I see it every morning. It reminds me that I am not finished. I'm not a problem to be managed. I'm a person to be loved, listened to, and occasionally laughed with. And so are you. So tomorrow, call someone before you feel forgotten. Write 1 honest sentence before the day runs away. Put something bright near the door. Make soup for yourself, even if no one is coming. And if someone asks how you are, try telling the truth, just a little. You may be surprised who pulls up a chair.